Taoiseach, last Friday, I think a number of our European colleagues tried to put pressure on the government again to increase our corporation tax rate in return for a lower interest rate in terms of the loan facility that we enjoy from the European Union and the IMF. And they clearly hoped that there would be movement on this, on an issue that they also had endeavoured to bring up with the previous government, and which they had failed as well, and they couldn't get that commitment. I think they made the offer during discussions that were not scheduled really for decision making, but rather exploratory in that regard. And I just want to say that I think you recognise that, in my view, it was a classic try-on. And I just want to articulate here today my full support for the stance that you took and your refusal to accept this offer, and also your rejection of other attempts to exploit this situation in terms of endeavouring to bring about tax harmonisation. And I think the important point that we must remind our European colleagues is that, and I've heard talk across the political domain about the need for a referendum on the bailout and so on, but I think it's important to remind our European leaders, and I would ask you to do so, that we've had a referendum in this country on corporation tax. We actually negotiated with the European leaders a protocol to be attached to the second Lisbon referendum proposal, which was put to the people. And they were left in no doubt on that occasion about how sincerely and deeply held this view was among the Irish people. And in that respect, I think if the European Union is to mean anything to its people, is that the European leaders keep their word, and that their word is their bond. And I would ask you to remind President Sarkozy and Chancellor Merkel of that at the summit meeting. I think it's an important point that maybe has been lost sight of in the recent discussions. I think it's unfortunate that the issue of the reduction of the interest rate has been conjoined with the issue of corporate taxation. There are two separate issues, we have, over the last number of months, witnessed a dawning, if you like, or a greater insight, and people becoming more enlightened on the need for a change and an improvement in terms of the loan facility deal. And I think, would the Taoiseach agree that perhaps the most important thing to emerge from the meeting on Friday was the confirmation that the consensus now exists to both improve the FSF and also to ensure greater sustainability and recoverability from the programme. I would like to ask the Taoiseach two things in that context. First of all, would he support the motion that I intend to bring to the House next week to confirm to the country, again, and to Europe and to the world, that there is political support, cross-party political support for our corporation tax strategy, and that that's unanimous in this House and has been unaffected by the recent election. I think there was a similar motion last November brought before the previous Dáil. I think that would be an important statement in itself from the newly elected Oireachtas. And secondly, would the Taoiseach confirm, and during the election campaign we had a lot of commentary on this about burning the bondholders, and indeed in your own document, credit where credit is due. There was references to, there was a pledge in essence that may have to happen. But I was struck by the comments of Minister of State Brian Hayes, and would you agree with the view of Minister Hayes that such a move would be, and I quote from him, crazy?